Found out that like in movies where people throw cold water on you for being loud, that's a real thing. Didn't happen to us, fortunately, but I think the best part of going to Italy, I think it definitely exceeded all of my expectations, but the best part I would have to say is just being with the family. Like, they were so great and they were so alike to my family, and I just loved it. And also, I got twins when I went over, so I stayed with a group of twins. So I think I got a little bit of a better deal, but yeah. So I just thought that's the best part of Italy, was definitely being with family.
So yeah, like Callie said,
Chris,
you
want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Chris Pettigrew. Hi. So again, like Callie said, yeah, every night we would go hang out, and we would go. It's such a small town. We would basically go everywhere, every night. Just walk around and hang out and talk, and that was one of the most fun parts, was just being able to talk and get to know all the kids. And during the day when we went out and did all the activities, we got to have some of their friends come with us. So we had a few extra Italians with us, and that was pretty cool too, because we got to see what their friends were like compared to some of our friends, I guess. And the best part for me was also the family. My family was great. My Italian brother had two older brothers. They were very nice. They treated me like family as much as the rest of the family did. And it was a great experience.
I'll make sure I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Kayelynn Woodlock. I would have to agree, the best part of the entire trip was being with the family. And what made this trip even better was, no matter where we went, our host brother or sister or both were with us everywhere we went, and that just made the relationship and the bond better. And unfortunately, it made the goodbye even harder. I have to say, one of my favorite memories of the entire trip was the night we had the Tortellata Festival. That was the night it performed, but that's not what made it spectacular. What made that spectacular was, I think that was the night that we officially just broke out and became who we are, just had a blast. And we danced in the rain, and they taught us dances, we taught them dances, and it was unlike anything I could ever express in words. In conclusion, I guess you could say that Italy definitely exceeded my anticipations, and I will be going back someday.
I'm Jenna Childress, and like everybody else has said, I would agree that staying with the family was probably the best part of the entire experience, because it was like you have a second family in a different country, but they love you just as much as your family here. And not only is like the group of people that you stayed with, not only were they your family, but the entire group of students and all of their parents felt like your family too. So that was really nice. And I also liked hearing about the history and all of the different cities we went to. And history isn't usually something that I'm big into, but Italy being as old as it is, there's like everywhere you go, there's something that you can learn. And in a lot of places that's like 10 feet under the ground, there are ruins still. And especially when we went to Rome, I thought that was really fascinating to see all of the old things mixed in with the new and how they managed to incorporate that. And it was a trip that I'll never forget.
Thank you. Gary,
Just real quick, I said it when I introduced the students, how these are four just terrific students in our community. The 10 that went, they're all leaders, as Scott said. You know, sometimes when we look around society, we see challenges and we see problems, and we look at the next generation and maybe we don't see much hope. I have quite a different picture today, having been with 10 really bright opportunities for hope, or whatever we want to describe it. We have a future in our country, we have a future in our community, and I know that because I spent 14 days with 10 terrific kids, and I thank them for representing us well and becoming like my kids. So thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Just a great trip.
I heard a couple times they mentioned how small the town was. If we compared it to Speedway, is it a lot smaller than
Very
Speedway?
small. It was,
It's 2,000 people, I think.
yeah. Very small.
And what made it look even, like, the mountains made it look very big, but with it being as small as it was also very cluttered. All the buildings, no matter where you went, all the buildings were just together, attached. I actually was in a house, that was a double house, and I shared with my neighbors a home in the mountains. So, it was great.
But the one thing they do over there is what was built 80 years ago is still, what was built 80 years ago is still standing. I mean,
It's on.
it's on. What was built 80 years ago is still standing. I mean, they may change the inside of the house and paint the outside, but they're basically like they were, and they're nudged up against each other. The main drag probably is a little longer than Main Street and Speedway. I mean, from one end to the other,
Yeah, that's about it.
literally.
Yeah, I describe it like a village, and yet the geographical boundaries of their total village was more like 17 square miles. Our town is 4-point-some square miles. So physically it was much larger, but they had 2,300 people living in their village, I think was the number, versus our 12,000. So different from that perspective. About 20-25 miles from Parma, which is a good sized city, probably similar to Fort Wayne or Evansville in terms of population.
And actually, the kids in Varano, the high school kids, went to Parma
Yeah.
for high school. They had elementary and kind of middle school in Varano, but after that, you went to Parma every day for high school.
I have a question for the students. So we had different teachers that would give cultural lessons and historical lessons. They were 20-somethings, they were 30-somethings, and then we had a couple that were older. Who was your favorite teacher?
Ernesto.
Yeah. Ernesto was probably 65, 70 years old. And just, again, more hope that I have for our future. These guys connected with a gentleman that was all about history, and they found a way to connect with him, which was really special.
How did they handle the language?
Great, most of them spoke English, so it was great.
How would you say?
My family, well, my dad, I was actually really, really fortunate. My father was from New Zealand, and if you don't know, in New Zealand they do speak English. And a large part of their family still lives in New Zealand, so every year for like a Christmas vacation or a Easter vacation, they would go over to New Zealand and spend time with their family, which would cause them to have to learn English. So my brother, his name's Vincenzo, he actually, whenever we had an adult speaker giving a speech in Italian, he was always the one who had to be the volunteer to translate everything in English. And for me, it was really easy, and in the process, I also learned a lot of Italian, so it was a lot of fun.
They are required to take English at an early age. And I know Connie and I hosted 2 Italian students last September and October, and one of them was absolutely fluent, and the other was 85% fluent. What can I say? I mean, we didn't have any language problems at all. Most of these kids spoke pretty good English.
Yeah, there was, as each generation you moved to, there was a little less English, and with some of the, as Scott described it, we both mutually described this group of volunteers very much like the Lions Club. I can look around the room and remind me so much of you. They didn't speak that great of English at all, but they were servant, and they really had a servant's heart, and so it wasn't about that for them. It was interesting, you know, I forgot that Vincenzo's dad was New Zealand, a Kiwi. At times, you know, some of the kids, boys in particular, would act like they didn't understand English very well when we're trying to wrangle them in, We were the chaperones for the Italians a lot of times too, so it was convenient at times when they remembered English and when they didn't. But I forgot that.
Let's be honest, the Americans included forgot that they spoke English when it came to being wrangled in. We speak total
I didn't
Italian.
say that.
Actually, there were as many tears when these students left the mothers and fathers of those kids over there as there were when you left your brothers and sisters. I mean, the mothers were crying, literally, all the time.
I got email. I'm still in communication with Kaylynn's mother, which is not me, apparently. She said, to quote her, there are no kids playing. It's as if there's been a funeral. They miss them so bad that the town is silent. They're in mourning, is what she said.
And they really put out the red carpet, literally. I mean, they did. So we've got an awesome task next June, and as we attended 3 festivals, we will be coming to you for some help. Help make their experience over here even close to what we experienced over there. Liz?
I have a question, I'd like to start with the young lady on the end. Is your last name Childress?
Yes.
How would you compare the Italian food over there with the Italian food here?
Everything that they make is usually like fresh vegetables, or it's made from scratch. And I would also say that like everything in general is just a lot healthier there. And the pasta, it's more of like al dente there, like it's a harder type than we usually have here.
Like Jenna mentioned, she said that everything was healthy there. Their junk food for us would be healthy. Everything, it was amazing. I went thinking I would come back and be just huge, and I ended up losing weight because of all the walking we did and how healthy the food really was, and it was fresh, and you can tell that they really put a lot of work into what they make.
A lot, like they said, all the food was always fresh. The bread, it was always hard. Like it wasn't the soft bread we have. It didn't come in loaves. It came in like bread comes out of the oven. Came in a circular, just big piece of bread, and they had to cut and tear it themselves. They always brought home, like my father always brought home fresh cheese and bread every day, and everything was healthier, but it also, for me at least, tasted better over there.
Yeah, the food here isn't even comparable to in Italy. Let's all be honest. It's not. I came back and I'm like, this isn't good food. I need to send me back, put me on the plane. Everything was so much better there, like everyone else said. It's so much healthier. I also learned that Alfredo sauce is not actually Italian.
Neither is spaghetti.
Neither is spaghetti.
Spaghetti
It's
and
American.
meatballs? That's American.
It's American.
Liz, I think it was a really good question. In the village, there was not a grocery store. There were a fruit market, there was a meat market, and there was a vegetable market. There was a town, a village, another 5 miles away that had a grocery store the size of an Aldi. That was all the bigger one.
Well, that's true all over Europe.
You're right. And so you would, for tonight's dinner, you would buy it today. And for tomorrow's dinner, you'd buy it tomorrow. And that's, I think, what Chris, you were saying is Dad would bring home something every day.
It was real butter, right? It was real butter.
Yep.
It wasn't hard.
So there wasn't an Olive Garden or?
They were McDonald's. Funny story. They were McDonald's. When we got in Rome, the Italians thought it'd be a great treat for the students of the U.S. to go to McDonald's, and they were all bummed out about it.
We found one in
Somewhere else.
Luca too, didn't we?
Yeah, there was one somewhere
Yeah.
else too.
Rome.
I saw
Luca
two.
or, I think it
Pisa, one
was,
of the two.
Pisa or Luca, there was
I
McDonald's.
mean, the reality
Did you go
is
saw the
we
fruit?
did a lot of
Yeah,
walking.
there was a lot of fruit.
Probably more than some people planned on. But on some of these cities, like Pisa and Lucca, they're basically walled cities. And so the closest the bus might get is 3/4 of a mile. So we would be dropped off, then you have to walk to the city, and there's no cars or very limited cars, like it's permitted vehicle inside the city. So, Gary had something on his wrist, he and his wife, that kind of measured how far we walked, and most days we walked a lot. Which helped balance out, because I know the students had great food with the families. We had some, John Paulo DeLara over the last 3 or 4 years has brought some gentlemen his age over here for the 500. We both have had the opportunity to meet these people over a series of times. I've had an opportunity to cook for almost all of them over a period of time. And they really treated us to some marvelous experiences with food that the older gentlemen made, the mothers, the grandmothers made, and it was...
Jenna's family, they own, the grandfather of the family, he owns over 100 Italian motorcycles of seven different makers. Some go back as early as 1900. And so we ate in that garage. They had it all cleaned up, and
You kind of saw
pictures of it. It was just every family had something unique about them. That family maybe did a little better than some other families, but it was just fascinating to see. And you see it on TV here when we look at Italian families, even here in the States, but the true family nature from generation to generation. They live in the same homes. Jenna's grandfather,
Yeah, their grandparents lived right next to them, and their aunt and uncle lived above them, and it was like all in the same building.
Did the McDonald's taste the same as here?
It was better. Even the McDonald's was
Like, the
better.
quality was so much better.
It was about 10 times as expensive, but
what was the funniest thing on the McDonald's menu?
The crab. the
McLobster?
Yeah, the
Lobster.
McLobster.
It's like Maine.
It was bread with lobster in the middle.
But it was the equivalent of like $12 or $13, so it's not quite as good.
I give it one.
Cokes are expensive over there, soft drinks are expensive.
You've talked about how well they rolled out the red carpet for you all. When those students come to visit us, are there any ideas that you have that we as a community can give to those students so that they can have as great of a trip?
I think one thing we're gonna be doing in the next month is, I kind of had, put together a draft itinerary or some ideas just for budgetary purposes, to know how much we would have to raise for them coming over. And I think at least between Gary and Lori and Connie and myself, we can tear that up, because it's kind of changed by our experience. We've asked all the students to fill out kind of an evaluation form, and over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're gonna get with the students and we're gonna talk about things that may need to be changed when the next group of students go over there. But we're also going to get all their ideas of what they would like to see those students experience when we're over here. And then once we have that solidified, I think we will be coming back here and to other people in the community to figure out how to make it all happen, literally.
We did a survey of the Italian students, the American students, and don't want to dwell on any negatives, but part of the reason for a survey is to find out what they liked and didn't like. And so from the didn't like, some trends that we maybe spend a little too much time doing this or a little too much time doing that, not enough time doing this. We'll adjust accordingly, but we probably have 100 items on a list of things to do, and we'll have to tear that back.
I think that we went to Pisa, we went to Lucca, we went to Parma, we went to Venice, we went to Cinque Terre, and we went to Rome. And yet, as you heard these students talk about the best aspect of it, they talked about families and those relationships. And so
how many of you went to Japan? Okay, so 2 of you. And we talked before we went, what was the best experience of going to Japan? And without any question, they said being with families and meeting new people. So it wasn't a surprise, but yet you go you experience the things yourself and you think, they're gonna say this, this, or this. No, it was family, people, which was a great thing.
And I think you all like seeing the Colosseum. You like seeing old Rome. I don't know that you want to have an 8-hour guided tour. You want to be able to see it,
Or walk 12
and
or
see the
13 miles.
Vatican, and see certain things, but I'm not sure you want to listen to a tour guide. I know you don't. I heard that loud and clear. So, anyway, thank you very much.